Hey, daring daughters. It is Rise and Win Coach Cynthia Newell of Dare to Dream Spiritual Life Coaching Practice. So excited that we're at day 8 of our 21-day journal excursion, The Attributes of God. How is your journaling coming along? Are you experiencing some emotional breakthroughs? Are the revelations that God is giving to you during this time opening your heart more, or do you feel more shame? Do you feel more guilt, as a result of what's being revealed? I want you to talk to me. I want you to talk to me and let me know what you're feeling so that we can work it out together. That's my goal, to support you, through this journaling experience, not only with increasing your faith and developing your relationship with God, a closer relationship with God, but also supporting you when those emotions rise up that you really don't know what to do with. And so if you have a question, if you have concerns, if you need support, feel free. Our community of Daring Daughters here on Facebook is a very safe community. You may be feeling something that someone else is feeling that they are afraid to say. And so I want you to come forth. I want us to talk about it. Let's work through it together, okay? So today we are going to look at the attribute of God that helps us when we are in need of clarity, in need of joy, in need of support, even when we're in need of money and understanding and a job, deliverance, we need healing. When there is a need, we can call upon Jehovah Sali, the Lord my rock. Jehovah Sali, the Lord my rock. And our focus scripture for today is going to be Psalms 18:2. I love this characteristic because we are always in need of something from God. We cannot answer all the questions. We cannot answer any of the questions that come forth in our lives, in our marriages, on our jobs, even in our health and in our finances, even just being us in parenthood and in sisterhood and in brotherhood and just in relationships. This characteristic of God says, God is a love that shields me when I am in need. He shields us when we are in need. So there's, no shame about being in need. When we need some things, sometimes there's this negative connotation that comes, and I don't know about you, but I've experienced where sometimes I was ashamed of the things that I needed, and I judged the fact that I needed what it was that I needed at that time. And there's no shame. How can we, and this is the question that the Lord presented to me, how can we so easily receive if there's this receive from God if there's this negative connotation centered or focused around receiving? We cannot. So just know that it's a trick of the enemy, the adversary, to make you feel some kind of way when you're in need. And what I want you to focus on today in your journaling is where or in what situations in your life do you turn to distractions such as social media or food or whatever it is to take your mind off of what you're facing, what your need is? Where in your life do you turn to distractions? It could be sitting up scrolling through Pinterest or, binge watching Netflix. Where do you turn to those distractions, and what situations? Because you just can't deal with it. You don't know how to deal with it. There is a need, but sometimes we can't even articulate the need. So I just want you to focus on where in your life and in what situations do you notice that you turn to distractions to take your mind off of what you're facing. And then the second question I want you to answer in your journaling today is, what need do I feel has not been met? That's a really good question. What need do I feel has not been met? Sometimes the fact that the need has not been met, that can make us lose faith a little bit. And then we're so apprehensive about asking for another need because it's like this need hasn't been met. But I will say this, that everything that we ask of God, God always answers that need. It's just developing a relationship so that you can hear and understand the response is where we miss it. And so if you focus on what area, what need you feel has not been met, I'm pretty sure some answers will come forth as to how that answer or that need has been met. Sometimes the answer, the need is met in a way that it doesn't really agree with us. We feel like it should have been met in a different way. But nevertheless, God is yet answering prayers. And so today I want you to declare that Jehovah Sali, you are a God of great compassion, mercy, and grace. Your abundant love flows to me. And then we're going to do something a little bit different with today's journaling. I want you to take a moment to write a prayer of supplication regarding the unanswered, or the second question, regarding an unanswered need you have. I want you to look at that. Think about that and write a prayer to God about that. I know for me, there was a season where I kept asking God for a team, and I felt like, other prayers were being answered, but that prayer just was not being answered. And I was like, God, I really need a team because I can't do all of these things that I'm trying to do on my own. And so God had answered me, but I didn't really understand the answer. And the answer came in the form of a vision, and it took me right back to my childhood, where I was on the street where I used to walk with my neighbors to school, and it was a crowd, and I saw myself, young self, there being bullied. And I remember, no one helped me. Even though there was a bunch of people around, no one helped me. And I said, God, why did you take me back to this point? And God took me back to that point to show me that was the point that I closed my heart to receive help because I did not believe that people would help me. And so it wasn't that God didn't answer the prayer. He was answering the prayer, but God does things so strategically and in order, and it just awes me, because so that he could move in the way that I needed him to move, he wanted to heal me of those wounds first. And so that's why he took me to that place. So if a thought comes by, it's not random. If you get a vision of something, it's not happenstance. There's a message in it. So we have to, in that first question I talked about the distractions. We don't want to allow distractions to get in the way of hearing God when he's answering the needs that we have, okay? And then lastly, we want to connect to what's possible. So I want you to describe in detail how it feels to have each of your each of your needs answered and met by God. Oh, that's a wonderful feeling. That's a wonderful feeling for everything to tie in and God just answer your prayers, So I want you to write that out. I believe that we have to get in the feeling nature so that when those things begin to happen in our reality, it's not so far-fetched. We felt it before. So happy journaling. Until next time, make it a great day.